You sit there together. Same couch, same room, same person you used to feel completely safe with. But tonight feels different. They're scrolling on their phone. You're pretending to watch something neither of you are actually paying attention to, and the silence between you feels heavy. Not peaceful, heavy. You want to say something, anything, but instead you hear your own thoughts getting louder. Why does it feel so distant lately? Are we slowly drifting apart? Did something change? Or did we? Why do I feel alone sitting right next to the person I love? Am I asking for too much? Or not enough? And here's the part nobody explains. Most relationships don't fall apart because love disappears. They fall apart because emotional safety quietly leaves the room, and neither person realizes it until the connection already feels cold. That's the real thing beneath the surface. Not a lack of love, not bad intentions, not because you chose the wrong person. You're not failing at love. Bro, every couple that has ever deeply loved each other has stood exactly where you're standing right now. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand why relationships start feeling emotionally distant, how small, invisible patterns slowly create walls between two people, and what actually brings closeness back before it's too late. Let's get into it. Most couples believe connection disappears suddenly, like one day you're close and the next day you're strangers. But the real truth is, emotional drift happens quietly, slowly, beneath the surface. Your nervous system notices disconnection long before your conscious mind does. That's why you can feel off with someone even when nothing technically bad happened. Because humans don't bond through logic, we bond through emotional safety, through presence, through feeling emotionally received. And when safety leaves a relationship, love usually doesn't disappear. It goes underground. That's why one partner becomes withdrawn. That's why the other starts over-explaining, overthinking, overreaching. One person pulls away to protect themselves, the other reaches harder because distance feels terrifying. And most couples completely misunderstand this cycle. They think, we communicate too much. We communicate too little. We're incompatible. But here's what nobody explains. A relationship can survive stress. It can survive conflict. It can survive mistakes. What it struggles to survive is emotional disconnection that never gets repaired. Because unspoken hurt becomes patterns, patterns become walls, and walls become loneliness, shared by two people in the same room. So if you've been feeling distant lately, this video isn't about blame. It's about seeing clearly. Because once you understand what's actually happening beneath the surface, you stop reacting to each other like enemies and start understanding each other like partners again. And that changes everything. Number 1, the slow death of turning away. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples think disconnection happens during the big moments, the huge fights, the betrayals, the dramatic endings. But real emotional drift usually happens in 30-second moments, tiny ones. A partner says, "Today was exhausting," and the other barely looks up. One reaches for affection, the other says, "I'm tired." One tries to share something vulnerable, the other responds with solutions instead of presence. And none of these moments seem catastrophic alone. But emotionally, your nervous system keeps score. Because beneath the surface, every relationship is constantly asking one silent question. Are you still emotionally here with me? Most people in relationships miss this completely because they think connection is maintained through grand gestures, vacations, date nights, anniversary posts. Not deeper conversations, not more romantic words, not pretending everything's okay. But two people consistently turning toward each other in small moments that quietly say, "You matter to me." That's what creates safety. Here's the difference. Disconnected version, "I had a rough day." Everybody has rough days. Connected version, "I had a rough day. Come here, tell me what happened." See the shift? One response solves nothing emotionally. The other tells the nervous system, "You don't have to carry this alone." And when you do that, the walls between you start coming down without either of you having to say a word. 2. Criticism is usually fear in disguise. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most people think criticism is about control. But beneath the surface, criticism is usually fear that doesn't know how to sound vulnerable. She never listens to me. He doesn't care anymore. You're always on your phone. Listen carefully to those statements. Underneath them is usually something much softer. I miss you. I don't feel chosen lately. I'm scared we're drifting. But fear rarely comes out sounding gentle, especially when someone's nervous system already feels unsafe. So instead of saying, I need closeness, they say, why are you always distracted? And the other partner hears attack instead of longing. That's the cycle. Your nervous system during conflict is like a smoke detector. It cannot tell the difference between criticism and emotional danger, so it sounds the alarm anyway. Most couples then move into defense mode immediately. No, I'm not. You do the same thing. You're overreacting. But here's what changes everything. Emotionally mature people learn to hear the feeling beneath the complaint. Not louder conversations, not endless explaining, not winning the argument, but recognizing the hidden longing inside what sounds harsh on the surface. Disconnected version. You never spend time with me. Well, maybe stop complaining all the time. Connected version. You never spend time with me. Honestly, it sounds like you really miss us. Bro, that sentence changes the emotional temperature instantly, because her brain is quietly registering, he actually heard the pain underneath my words this time. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels like a negotiation into one that feels like a refuge. 3. Emotional withdrawal is usually protection. This is where it gets really interesting. Most couples see emotional withdrawal as rejection, coldness, lack of care, lack of effort. But the real truth is, many withdrawn people are not disconnected because they feel nothing. They're disconnected because they feel too much. Some people learned very early that vulnerability wasn't safe, that emotions created conflict, that expressing needs led to disappointment. So when tension rises in a relationship, their nervous system doesn't move closer. It hides. Silence becomes protection. And here's what nobody explains. What looks like stonewalling is often someone emotionally overwhelmed beyond their capacity to process in real time. That doesn't make the behavior healthy, but it makes it understandable. Most see the behavior. Very few stop long enough to understand the fear beneath it. Disconnected version. Why are you shutting down again? Forget it, I don't want to talk. Connected version. I can feel you pulling away. I'm not trying to attack you. I just want us to stay connected while we figure this out. You feel the difference immediately. One response increases threat, the other lowers it. And something in him is quietly saying, maybe I don't have to defend myself right now. That's when emotionally unavailable behavior slowly starts becoming emotionally available presence. Not through pressure, through safety. 4. Love dies in unspoken resentment. Most people in relationships think resentment comes from huge betrayals, but honestly, resentment usually forms like scar tissue, slowly. 100 tiny moments that never got repaired, feeling unheard repeatedly, feeling dismissed repeatedly, feeling emotionally alone repeatedly. And over time, people stop bringing things up because disappointment starts feeling inevitable. That's dangerous, because silence in relationships is rarely peace. A lot of the time, it's surrender. Here's the part no one talks about. When someone says, "It's fine," their nervous system is often saying something completely different. I don't think explaining myself will matter anymore. That's heavy. Most couples wait too long to repair because they think unresolved tension will fade naturally. But emotional pain buried alive doesn't disappear. It changes shape. It becomes irritability, distance, passive aggression, emotional numbness. Disconnected version. You okay? I said I'm fine. Connected version. You okay? Honestly, you seem hurt. And I care more about understanding you than ending this conversation quickly. Bro, that kind of presence changes people. Because what's moving through her is, I forgot how good it feels to matter emotionally again. And that's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to manage and starts feeling like a person to come home to. Number 5, real intimacy is emotional presence. And here's what changes everything. Most couples think intimacy is chemistry, physical attraction, shared hobbies, constant passion. But real intimacy is emotional presence. It's knowing someone is truly with you while you're speaking. Not just physically there, emotionally there. That's rare now. Most people listen to respond. Very few listen to understand. And your nervous system knows the difference instantly. This isn't a communication hack. This is just what emotionally mature love looks like. Because when someone feels deeply heard, their walls naturally soften. Not because you fix them, not because you said the perfect thing, but because presence itself is healing. Disconnected version. You're overthinking this. You're making a big deal out of nothing. Connected version. I can see this really affected you. You don't have to explain why your feelings make sense to me. Man, that's powerful. Because suddenly, the relationship stops feeling emotionally unsafe. And when safety returns, connection usually follows right behind it. That's the real thing most couples miss. Not more advice, not more strategies, not performing love better, but becoming someone whose presence feels safe enough for another human being to fully exhale around. That's real intimacy. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation. An invitation to stop seeing relationships as something you maintain through perfection and start seeing them as something you nurture through awareness, repair, and emotional presence. Because when you internalize this, you stop reacting from fear and start responding from understanding. And your partner feels that shift before you even say a word. You become calmer, more intentional, more emotionally available. You stop trying to win every moment and start protecting the connection instead. These aren't just tips for a better relationship. They're the beginning of becoming the kind of partner you always wanted someone to be for you. And the truth is, the relationship you want doesn't begin when everything finally feels easy. It begins the moment two people decide to stop protecting themselves from each other and start showing up for each other instead.